Hi everyone, welcome to another video, and today, of course, you can see the title of the video, I'm redoing my Joop Homme fragrance review. So let's get going. This is classed as a Amber Fougere. And this was released in 1989, which I believe I think I was 10 years old when this was released, almost 11 years old. So yeah, it's getting on a bit. So quick look at the bottle. I think everybody's probably seen a bottle of Joop or Joop Homme. You got the pink juice. It's pinker than it used to be. It actually used to be quite like a dark pink, almost brownish colour. But today's stuff, this is today's juice, by the way. This is what you can go and buy off the shelf, and I'll touch on that later on. You got Joop Homme or Joop Homme there in white on the front. We've also seen the sort of half circle sort of bottle, sort of purpley cap with this silver sprayer, and the pinky juice. Now it's got some information on the bottom, and that's about it. So you can get this 125ml for about somewhere between £23 to £25 roughly. Okay, so quick go through the notes. Top is orange blossom, mandarin orange, bergamot and lemon. The mid is cinnamon, heliotrope, cardamom, lily of the valley. And the base is vanilla, tonka bean, sandalwood, patchouli, honey, tobacco and vetiver. So what do you get out of this? Now, again, this is today's juice, okay? Today's juice that you can go and buy in 2021. And it isn't the same as it used to be. I'll tell you that right now. It is slightly watered down compared to what it used to be. The juice colour, if you ever see an original, the juice colour is different. The juice colour is actually similar to the recent release of Joop Homme EDT. That's the kind of colour this stuff used to be. Maybe even a little darker than this. But if you see the colour of this, this is what this juice used to actually look like. Slightly less pink. And again, this is the EDT that I reviewed not too long ago. So yes, it has changed a little bit compared to the original. Now, when you first spray this on, now I'm not going to go too in depth because I think everybody knows about this scent. They've tried it. They've probably had a bottle. They know somebody who wears it. They've smelt it somewhere before. It's been around that long, and even people still wear it, like myself occasionally. You're going to smell it. Some people have probably smelt it. So I'm not going to get too in depth with that. I get a sweet orange blossom, cinnamon, vanilla and tonka bean mix, and to be honest, from the top to the bottom with this modern juice, it doesn't change that much. It gets a little bit more sort of vanilla and I would say sandalwood towards the end of its life, and the dry down of the skin, but for the most part that's what I get. I get a orange blossom, maybe a touch of bergamot on the top, which soon goes, a cinnamon, vanilla, tonka bean, and a little bit of that sandalwood in the dry down. Maybe a hint of like a very clean vetiver, not like an earthy vetiver, but that's pretty much the notes I get, and they're all sort of mixed in this sort of slightly syrupy sweetness. There's batches of this in between, like where you are now, 2021, to the original. The original was very sweet. But it wasn't like so cloying, it's sweet. Now, between this releasing and today's stuff, if you've got a bottle about 10 years or so ago, that stuff was really sweet. I mean, they went silly sweet. I mean, super sweet. So the original it's sweeter, but it's sort of it blends. You know, it's manageable. It was more manageable, even though it's sweeter than today's stuff. Today's stuff is still sweet, but it certainly has, within the last 10 years, been watered down quite a bit. But I get still get a nice pleasant sweetness from this. You know, I was brought up with this as a teenager. This was one of my fragrances that I wore as a teen. You know, I mean, as soon as I was sort of old enough to sort of get a fragrance, you know, I think I was about 14 or 15 when I was gifted this. I think I was 14 years of age when I was gifted this, maybe even younger. I think, no, actually, no, I think I was about 12 when I was actually gifted this, if memory serves me right. And I had a smaller sort of, you know, sort of 50ml kind of size, and I loved it. So you're coming from a sort of biased direction with me, because this provokes sort of memories for me. So I do enjoy this fragrance because of that. Honestly, today's juice is a bit on the cheap synthetic kind of side. I mean, once it dries down, it's actually really okay. You know, it's not too bad. But you trust me, when you've had a bottle of the original stuff, it doesn't really compare. Now, it's still nice. It still smells okay. It still smells good. But the longevity and projection is nowhere near like it used to be. The original one was absolute beast mode. You know, 2 or 3 sprays on, you could walk into a room, you'd destroy any other fragrance that was in there. People would only smell you, no matter what was in there. That it was you that people were smelling. This one, not so much now. You know, after the first sort of hour, he's still pretty strong, but it's not beastly. But then after about an hour, it starts coming a little closer to the skin. It's still strong, it's still there, but it certainly isn't as strong as it was when you first sprayed it for the first hour. Then you get a sort of just above average with today's scent. Now, I think it's somewhat of a good thing that they've toned it down a bit for this like projection and longevity and that. I mean, the original, you could leave it on the skin for 24 hours and it'd still be pushing. This stuff, I've noticed, certainly on my skin, give it about 10 to 12 hours and it's gone. So it lasts half as long as it certainly used to be, at least half. But you know, who wants a fragrance more than about 12 hours anyway? I certainly don't. I mean, I shower before, you know, I've had some on for 12 hours. So, you know, I think it's in one way it's a good thing that they've toned down and watered it down a little bit. However, by watering it down a bit, they've lost some of the essential DNA, shall we say, the richness that the original had. It's a little more cheap and synthetic, although it still smells good. It's just not the original juice when it first came out, and you can say that about a lot of fragrances today. But overall, I think it still smells good. It still smells like Joop. I had someone the other day say, "Oh, you got Joop on," and I was like, "Yeah." So it's still Joop. It's still recognisable. Now, we're after the first spray of that overall sweetness, as it dries down, the sweetness tones down a little bit. More of the cinnamon starts coming through with a nice smooth vanilla and a bit of touch of tonka bean and a little sort of woodiness coming from the sandalwood. And it all mixes, and yeah, it does still smell like Joop or Joop, but it doesn't smell quite as rich. It's not as in your face. It's just not as good as it used to be. But you know, today's stuff is still decent. They have watered it down, and in one way, I'm glad they've watered it down. But in another way, by doing that, they've took some of the magic out of Joop Homme. The original had a powderiness to it when it dried down. That really isn't in this anymore. It really isn't. I don't get any powderiness on the skin anymore. There's I think a little bit. The cinnamon is actually ramped up a little bit more in this. So maybe it's just because it's been watered down a bit that can come through a bit more. Who knows? But I get a little bit more cinnamon vibe from this than I used to from the original stuff. And this, only it's a total dry down. It's just like a nice smooth vanilla with a slight woody backbone from the sandalwood. I mean, that's on its ultimate dry down, you know, its last hour or two. You never really got to that stage with the original stuff because you'd washed it off before then. So I can't really judge the dry down of the original because you never actually really got there. This one just gives you like a generic sort of vanilla, slightly woody scent on its last hour or two. So does today's juice really smell like Joop or Joop? Yeah, but again it's watered down. You get a little bit more of a cinnamon vibe than the old one. You know, it's nice, it does the job, but if you can get an older batch, but believe me, go and get an older batch now. There is an alternative, sort of, and it's this one. This one is the EDP. Now I haven't used all this by the time since I last did the review of it about a week or so ago. I've decanted about 5 ml for someone, but honestly, I like Joop, but today's juice, it doesn't really compare. Now this EDP, I would say, is slightly better. It still has the DNA of Joop. It's still there, it still smells of Joop. But what it's done, it's modernised it. Now I'm not a fan of modernising things, especially when it's going down this sort of sweet tonka bean route like every other fragrance out there, and this dries down to. However, it mixes well with the DNA of Joop. So if you want something, I would say, if you've tried this and you like it but it's really not for you, but you're younger and you got, you know, this modern scent going on and you enjoy it, I would try this, because the CDP does smell similar to Joop original. Well, this Joop of today, it has got the DNA there, but this one sort of makes it a little bit more modern. Some people don't wear this now because it does smell of the 90s, and I'm assuming there are a few people out there would love to wear this if it was more modernised. Well, guess what, they've done it. The Joop has been modernised to today's noses, and this is what this EDP is. You've got the EDP out of puffer there on the bottom. So if you like this but you've got a modern nose, definitely try the EDP. Today's Joop is still good. I still wear it, but it's not like it used to be. But I've actually been enjoying the Joop EDP, and although I prefer the overall DNA of the original, I will say that the Joop, this Joop of today, isn't as good quality as it used to be, and it does put me off a little bit sometimes. But I've been reaching for this one because the quality is much better in this EDP. It still smells like Joop. The quality is better, as I said, and it's got a bit more going on compared to today's stuff. This has just been sort of watered down a bit too much. There's too much been taken out of it. But the EDP, they've sort of kept with the DNA but put some stuff in. They've modernised it and they've put some more. It's just a bit more complex than today's Joop, and I wish I would never have come to it where I would say it about Joop. But today's juice, modern stuff, I just spray it on occasionally for nostalgic reasons, but it doesn't smell like it used to. And honestly, I used to say, no, get the original. But I mean, today's stuff, honestly, I'm going to do something I wish I never would have to do, but I would say go with the EDP if you're going to buy one or the other, because today's stuff just isn't as good or worth it as it used to be. I would say try the EDP. You're still going to get a similar vibe, but modernised, updated, and a bit more complex. This is sort of almost how this used to be, but again, modernised for modern taste. So that's it. That's my review on Joop. It's nice. It still reminds me of the original, but it's just watered down so much now, where it's lost some of its magic. And yeah, so let me know if you've tried today's stuff. Do you like it? Do you not like it? Have you tried it? Have you not tried it? Or have you tried this one? And if you look on my channel and videos, you'll see this is probably my first video of coming back to YouTube. And although it wasn't a glowing review, it's still a modern, dries down to something modern, which is not my thing. It's certainly a little better than today's Joop. So that's it. Thank you very much for watching. I really do appreciate it as always, and I'll see you again soon on the next video.